Welcome to Flee the Facility, the only Roblox game with realistic jump physics. Yeah, you can't jump very high, can you? But fear not, this isn't a game about jumping, it's a game about watching bars go up or down. Let me start over. Flee the Facility is an asymmetrical multiplayer game hosted on Roblox and released in early July of 2017. Each game server can hold up to 5 players, one of which is a beast and the rest of whom are runners. The runners need to hack enough computers to unlock doors and escape from the beast, whereas the beast must knock players out with a hammer and place them in ice pop makers to freeze the survivors for a tasty snack. The game garners between 7 to 20,000 players depending on the time of the day. Today we're going to dig into a game that seems to have been frozen on the popular page for as long as it's been around. Hello, good morning, and good evening. Welcome to Extraspection, a place where we take a Roblox game, break it down into bite-sized pieces, and sort out the creative from the abrasive. For this first episode, we're going to be taking a look at Flee the Facility, a game that I happen to both appreciate and hate all at once. Upon entering the game, we're greeted with a very simplistic looking, very pleasant lobby. It does its job, even having a couple of Easter eggs. Over towards the right side of the map there's an outpost for trading, something which won't be covered very much in this video. On the right hand side of your screen is a little menu. On the top we have a little advertisement for trading, the ability to spectate other players in the match, and the place where the actual menu resides. We can change our chance of being the beast, look at our stats and inventory, and disable the in-game music, among other things. All the necessities are covered here, so there's not much for me to investigate. It's quite the quaint lobby, and I feel it's a great art style to aim for with the game. For a place you might be waiting a minute and a half in at a time, it's got just enough going on if you're bored. When a round ends, you're given a status screen and stats based on what you did for the last round. It would be nice if the screen with all the characters on it reflected a little more information, or even displayed its information correctly, as half the time some of the faces were shadowed out or appeared when they shouldn't have. It would be nice to be given a reason to look at the post-game leaderboard, aside from just seeing how many coins you got in the round. On the subject of coins, I absolutely love the way they're implemented into this game. The only thing you can use them on are skins. There's no pay-to-win features or anything that gives paying players an advantage over non-paying players. The only purchasable items in the shop are cosmetic, and while you could argue that trading gives inherent value to these items, I just think that the different hammers and gem styles as a form of expression is plenty duty for the coins to serve. This sort of applies to your rank too. Each player is ordered by rank on the players list, and while it can be seen as a measurement of skill, it only really tracks time spent in the trial. Again, a nice thing to look at, not too important. With all this praise for the currency system, you'd think my opinions on VIP would be the same, and while I take no issue with all the cosmetic and the coin boost that you pay for, the double map votes are a real problem. Regardless of the balance of each individual map, it is inevitable that more runners are going to be voting for maps than the beast, which leads to the same few runner-favored maps getting chosen round after round. The beast being randomly chosen each round effectively ensures that everyone votes for the runner-favored map, and when someone is unlucky and gets the beast, they end up struggling due to this. While this is a major departure from Flee the Facility's parent game, Dead by Daylight, I feel like it is comparatively more of a problem. There are in-game offerings that let you change the chance to get a map in Dead by Daylight, but you don't have infinite uses of these, and even then there are random objects scattered throughout the map like pallets and vault locations that ensure that no two games on one map are exactly the same. Competent runners on strong maps can easily get into positions that the beast cannot deal with in Flee the Facility due to this consistency. Perhaps this is something they should have more strictly inherited from Dead by Daylight, a relative lack of control over these maps, and more randomness that creates fairness for both sides. After the map loads in, a round starts, and all the runners immediately spawn in and get 15 seconds to wander around the map, scout where the computers are, and pick one to hack. The beast, meanwhile, gets to twiddle their thumbs for this duration. I understand the inherent reason behind this, in that no one wants to get immediately caught by the beast and put into a freezer 5 or 10 seconds into the match. For Dead by Daylight, both sides spawn in at the exact same time and begin working at the exact same time. Even if you were to find a survivor extremely quickly at the start of a match, there are hardly any killers with the ability to instantly down and capture them. The same is not true for Flee the Facility, where the beast has the ability to catch runners off guard, who of which get put into the ground in a single hit. It's understandable, but it swings the balance super hard in the other direction. The beast has no idea where the computers are, and so finding the first runner can be an absolute chore. Meanwhile, in the time it takes to find one runner and chase them down, the other 3 can all still be working away on computers, whittling away at your time extremely quickly. There are better ways to give less experienced beasts a little bit more of a fighting chance, such as notifying them when a computer is complete, or at least telling them where the computers are. The only reason I can perform so well as the beast personally is by remembering the locations of all the computers and making a beeline towards those locations when I think a survivor's at them, because other beasts don't really have this sort of insight. There could often be games where the beast has all the objectives completed around them without even seeing a single runner. Meanwhile, during this 15 seconds, the beast gets to choose the power they want to use. Honestly, this is extremely sloppy of the game developers. If they planned on removing the choice between these powers, they should have at least removed the menu that pops up here. Choosing to not select a power will just give you the one power you can select anyways. However, if the developers do still intend to add separate powers for the killers, how come we haven't had a new one in the 3 years that the game has been around? It seems like wasted potential at best. Now that we've actually gotten into the game, we can finally explore and see what all helps us escape from the beast or capture the runners. First and foremost, you and your fellow runners need to hack a number of computers in order to power the exit doors. Each computer takes over just a minute to fully hack, less time if you have more people helping, and during this process you'll run into some skill checks which are very easy to hit. This is by far the most boring part of the game, as you're effectively watching a meter go up and only paying enough attention to not miss a skill check. Something more engaging would definitely be more fun here. It's more important to note that once progress is made on a computer, it can never go back down. More devious runners can bring each computer up to 99% completion, and then complete all the computers in a row very quickly, giving the beast no indication of where to look, or practically no ability to react to where the computers are done. While I haven't seen it very often, it's a very annoying technique and it should be investigated a little bit. Scattered around the map are 3 sorts of passageways that runners can easily go through that hinder the beast. The simplest being windows, requiring just a jump to get through. Runners don't have a delay to their jump and they can keep running immediately, but every time the beast jumps, they'll slow down for a second after each one. I feel like these are perfectly fine and don't need to be tweaked in any way. Doors can be opened or closed by either party and require about 2 seconds to open. They might seem balanced for both sides in theory, but if a door is open, a runner being chased by a beast can easily close the door and waste some of the beast's precious time. The problem here is made worse when all 4 of the survivors can go around the map and open up all the doors, effectively creating passageways that waste a ton of time for the beast. Couple this with just the sheer number of doors on each map, and it leads to doors being extremely underrated and extremely powerful for the runners. Perhaps more doorways should just simply not have doors in them to balance this out. Vents are one of the most abused aspects of this game. It's a passageway that only runners can get through, and they're often far enough from a beast-friendly entrance to whereas a runner can simply wait at the entrance of a vent and never ever get caught by a beast, even when the beast has the sprint ability. Like doors, I feel like the number of these should be just simply reduced, although they're objectively more problematic, so removing them altogether would also be a fine choice. The exit doors, on the other hand, take about 15 seconds to open, and instead of the computers, they do lose all their progress when they aren't actively being opened. However, they're always on opposite sides of the maps, and thus, runners always have a chance to open them before the beast can arrive. My feelings on the exit doors are neutral, however, it'd be nice to have their locations randomized on the map. As the beast, the only power you have is to sprint. For 3 seconds or so, you move at a much quicker speed, a speed quick enough to catch a lot of runners off guard. This power makes chases extremely polarized and acts as the beast's only defense against vents and doors. However, to a survivor simply walking down a hall without any clear way out, it means that the chase ends immediately. It recharges over a period of 20 to 30 seconds, so you'll be using it many times throughout the match. For all the power that runners have over the match, this seems relatively well balanced. However, if runners were to be nerfed even slightly, I'm sure many people would complain about this power being too strong. It's a little unhealthy for the balance of the game in the long term. Your weapon as the beast is this big and slow hammer that has pretty pitiful range. It keeps its hitbox as it slowly swings down, so you'll need to time your swing when you want to hit runners that try to dip into a vent or crouch to the ground. To be honest though, I don't have any complaints about it. It feels extremely satisfying to smack a runner, and it gives such a nice loud sound and a nice animation that accompanies it. Tubes and computers are the only features that spawn at random locations around the map, and when a runner is hit and on the ground, you have a good bit of time before they stand up to bring them to a tube and stick them in there. Other runners then have to rescue them from the tube before the trapped runner loses all their time and is frozen forever. Rescues happen instantly, which can lead to weird situations where a previously downed runner doesn't lose any time on the tube and ends up wasting more of the beast's time. A team of 4 well-coordinated survivors can make a beast feel helpless in this regard, which is never a feeling a power roll of an asymmetrical game should have. If a beast is within a certain distance of the tube, the meter with the trapped runner will not decrease at all. This is a nice gimmick to stop face camping, but a beast can simply stand outside of the range and when the runner is rescued can immediately sprint and catch one if not both of the runners. I feel like there should be other incentives or measures taken to ensure that the beast doesn't camp, such as getting bonus gold and experience for hitting a different runner when one's in a tube. Speaking of gold, runners can only ever get coins from rescuing other runners once. I feel like this is a bit cheap. The game should definitely reward you for at least rescuing different survivors, but not too many as to prevent farming. On a social platform like Roblox, it's inevitable that people will want to play games together with their friends. Understanding this, Flee the Facility does an awful job at disincentivizing or preventing the beast from teaming up with the runners. I've played a few too many games where other runners follow me and call out my location the beast, or when I start doing well as the beast, all 4 of the other survivors leave all at once and I'm left with an empty server. I can only imagine how many other players have had a similar experience, but ideally, steps should be taken in order to prevent this and make sure that the game is played properly. Facility Zero is the oldest map out of the 5 in the game, and it's also the most classic. There aren't too many gimmicks or tricks to this map either, there's just a lot of doors. The glowing room is an interesting addition that can be difficult to find players in, but it's far away from most of the other computers on the map, so you're better off just not wandering out there in the first place. The big sentry room can spawn up to 2 computers, so as beasts you can easily expect to find lots of runners there. The problem is there's a vent in each corner of the big room, so catching runners can be a nuisance sometimes. Abandoned Prison, on the other hand, needs a lot of work to be a balanced map. There are so many vents and locations that the beast will have lots of trouble getting to, and the windows around the map won't provide much help either. Most of the computers on this map have an extremely convenient escape route for a runner, and the beast might have a tough time finding anyone at all on this map. Abandoned Facility is one of the most confusing maps in the game, but it's also one of the most balanced. There are only 2 or 3 vent spots that cause the beast any sort of trouble, and many of the computers are in tight locations or spots where vents are not easily accessible. The map feels like it has just a batch of runner favored and a batch of beast favored areas all mixed together with one another. Just make sure you don't get caught in the dead end. Homestead is a mess of a map. It's a convoluted mess with a ton of rooftops and windows, but a distinct lack of doors and vents. There's a large hedge maze that can be great if you spot out a runner, but if you find a runner on a rooftop, you might want to just leave them alone for the time being. Being the beast here is either feast or famine, there's no in between. Airport is the final map of the game, and it's the easiest for good runners to win on. Every location that has a computer will also have a convenient way to slip out of sight or out of range of the beast. There are big open areas with clear visibility, and the cramped areas always have a window, door, or other convenience that can turn the map into a nightmare for most beasts. At least the beast can learn a few tricks around the central area that can help out with mobility, but it's definitely a very survivor-sided map. Flee the Facility seems to have just enough care put into it to maintain a loose semblance of balance to the average player, while slacking in many other regards. It feels to me like many of the design choices in the game were hastily thought of and never expanded upon, leading to silly instances like the beast power menu sitting with only one option for over 3 years. It feels like the game doesn't take responsibility for itself and is content with delivering an unpolished, lopsided experience. Despite this, it's clear to see why the game got its success. The adrenaline when being chased by the beast and the sweet feeling of the success when you manage to slip away or when you manage to get a hit on a cocky survivor. I don't know of any other game on Roblox that can deliver the same feeling to the average player. I'm also glad to see the developers are not being aggressive with monetization. For example, they could have locked some of the abilities behind Robux paywalls or granted extra lives to people who would pay Robux. It's a bittersweet balance of a game that has lots of potential but one that is too lazy to execute on it. If you haven't played Flee the Facility before, I'd recommend giving it a try or two because there are definitely some good concepts to glean from it. But as a tinkerer and someone who keeps a competitive spirit about him, I personally find the game to be monotonous at times, and I can't really recommend you stick around with it for too long, unless you plan on playing in a private server with some friends. Found the video enjoyable or informative? Giving the video a like is always appreciated. Did you want to discuss anything or provide an idea for my next video? Be sure to leave a comment below. And if you want to find more content like this in the future, please subscribe. It's free and it means a lot to me that you're willing to support the channel. This has been Occida, see you soon.